Would you look at that? We have new games being leaked by insiders when it comes to Xbox. Could we see a brand new Doom being developed by id Software? Let's talk about what is being developed by one of my favorite studios, but also there's news for Hellblade II. We have the developer talking about how big the game is and how much more ambitious the sequel is going to be. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's get into it. Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, hit that small little bell icon. And if you want to go that extra mile to support the channel, hit that join button. Alright, enough of that. Can we please get into the new game that id Tech is talking about? Because I'm extremely excited to see what they can accomplish on their new IP or a reoccurring IP with Doom. And from what we're seeing in this new job posting that just came out, it's looking like they want people that are very familiar with certain games they've already made before, which is a pretty weird requirement. When you look into bringing new talent to a studio, you kind of want to get a different perspective. In fact, let's just get into what was being said and what was being posted. New Doom game could be in the works. It looks as though a new entry in id Software's beloved first-person shooter franchise Doom could currently be in the works. Back in 2020, the latest installment in the series, Doom Eternal, released in the early portion of the year. Since that time, id Software went on to release 2 new expansions for Eternal that seemingly brought the Doom series to a halt for the time being. However, if a new job listing is anything to go by, perhaps the next game in the franchise is already being developed in some capacity. Spotted by Xbox Worlds, a recent job for the role of a combat designer at id Software was posted to the ZeniMax website. For the most part, details of what this position could be associated were sparse, but id Software did make clear that it'd be working on another first-person action title, much as we have come to expect from the studio in the past. In addition, it was also specified that those applying to the position should have in-depth knowledge of recent id games, including Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. With this in mind, this could suggest that another Doom game is now in the works, given that id Software wants candidates to be very familiar with the property. Okay, so the first thing I have to say is that there is one awesome thing that id Tech has down, which is they understand what kind of studio they want to be. They understand they have an identity, and the type of games they want to make is pretty much universal. And if you've played their games from Doom 2016 all the way to the Game of the Year contender in Doom Eternal, you know exactly what that is. It's a fast-paced FPS game that has a lot of gore and amazing performance. They want people to go wild in their games, fighting demons while ripping them apart. For me, Doom Eternal is one of the best shooters I've ever played in my life, hands down. I love the game, and I've actually beaten it twice, first on the Xbox and then on the PC with Game Pass. No matter where I played it, the game felt amazing, and I always had a great time just ripping demons apart. So while this might not be a job listing for the next Doom, it could be a listing for a new IP, if not an old IP that they want to build like they did with Doom back in 2016 and moving forward. Basically, making an intense game with a lot of gore and fighting, which is something this article mentions. Then again, there's always a chance that this job could be tied to something else entirely, and it may not have anything to do with Doom. After all, Doom and Doom Eternal are the last 2 major releases that have come from id Software outside of some assistance that was done on Rage 2. Because of this, the studio could just want to hire a candidate that is familiar with its previous work in a general sense. Whether or not anything new related to Doom will come about in the future remains to be seen. But this job post definitely raises some eyebrows. I think this job posting is about grabbing more talent for their studio, but also keeping what they do best, which is making a huge epic type of games they want to make. If you ask me, I think they're making a new game, maybe not a new IP, but maybe they change an entire franchise to the point it becomes a brand new IP to them, which is what they did with Doom and Doom Eternal. Those games have changed forever because id Software made them into something so much better. So don't be surprised if they grab an old FPS game like Quake and give it this epic reboot. If we remember, Quake had like dragons, hammers, crazy melee, and a bunch of other stuff that's in its lore. or they can grab something else and want to make it into a massive new franchise. Either way, I'm excited to see what they make because they truly make some of the best games around. Doom Eternal can attest to that. That game was epic. I loved every moment of it. I'm about to go through the DLC with it because you know what? I just keep going back to that game just to play it because it feels so great to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if these developers start putting things together and we start seeing something from them in the next year or two. Which brings me to Ninja Theory, the people behind Hellblade 2. We've all seen the amazing gameplay trailer for this game. It's truly the most next generation gameplay we've ever seen. Its ambition for the game is at an all-time high, and it's probably the biggest game Ninja Theory has ever made from that studio, which is being talked about with the co-founder right here. Ninja Theory's co-founder Tamim Antoniadis, I messed that name up, has talked about the team's goals with Senua's saga Hellblade 2, which mostly revolves around completely outshining the previous title. In an interview with NME, he said that the team's ambition has taken the form of an all-encompassing approach to the idea of capturing reality. The goal with Hellblade 2 isn't to perfect it, but to create an experience that feels more believable and more refined. Its ambition in terms of scale is bigger. I think Hellblade 2 will make Hellblade look like an indie game, he said. Okay, so if you saw the gameplay trailer along with the older game they made with Hellblade, the first one, you know that these developers want to push the boundaries of what's possible on these next generation systems and PC systems. They're going to make one of the biggest games they've ever made, but also push what we can see on TV screens. We all know the ambition is there, and we all know they got massive funding from Microsoft and Xbox. So they've invested a lot into their studio so they can put up the production value of their games, which is what's happening with Hellblade 2. This game is going to blow people's minds, especially since back in 2017, they did the same thing with the first Hellblade. I mean, just look at the scope of the game when they go into detail about it. Over 40 locations in Iceland were scouted and narrowed down before being scanned into Hellblade 2's engine. Real costumes were also created and scanned in, and Melina Jurgens, who plays the titular Senua, was trained by a combat expert to perform the in-engine combat herself. The idea is believability, making things look real or believable, and the best way to do that is to base everything on real things, he said. To me, this isn't just about pushing the graphics. This is about trying to push what we can do as gamers, pushing reality and giving us something that we think is believable. The one studio that tried to do this was Naughty Dog with Last of Us 2. They wanted people to feel like they were in reality when they took an enemy out, that the kills and the combat was realistic. I think they went with a more fun aspect with the combat, which fit the game well. That's not what Hellblade is trying to do. What they want to do is bring reality in every aspect. Push the boundaries of not only combat and gameplay, but visuals. I mean, they scan costumes and a bunch of other items. Oh, and not to mention, they scan locations so wherever you go in the game feels realistic to you. This might be something we've never seen before, and it's happening because Xbox trusted this team and gave them plenty of money to make the game they want to make. Let's hope they can stick the landing because this is very exciting stuff coming from a very, very talented developer. Yet for me, I have to admit, I'm more excited to see what id Software is doing. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to see what all the studios are doing over at Ninja Theory and Xbox, but for me, I think Doom Eternal is one of the best games from last generation. I think that id Software and id Tech has some of the best developers in the world with one of the best engines in the world, and I can't wait to see what type of game they create. I'm sure we're a few years away from seeing what they're truly working on, but it's been 2 years since we've seen a new game from them, so I'm sure we're not that far off from seeing what they have planned. I expect a 2024 or a 2025 release date from them. No matter when this game releases or when it's announced, I'm going to be there day one with a smile on my face, and I'm pretty sure they're optimizing their engine for next generation, so I'm excited. But enough of what I think about all this, tell me what you think. Are you excited for what id Software is making? Is Hellblade 2 high on your list for most anticipated games? Which one of these studios are you most hyped about? Is there another game that you are excited that Xbox is making? Will Hellblade push the boundaries of graphics, or will id Tech, focusing on next generation, push the boundaries of FPS games? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button to support us out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also follow me on Xbox Live, my gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. So right now, I've been jumping into Lost Ark a lot. A lot of my friends have been playing them. Some of them are already max level. They're doing endgame content and are loving it. I have to say, this is one of the best launch games I've seen, especially in the MMO field, and I'm having a blast with it. I'm playing right now a warrior berserker, just going around with a big sword, taking enemies out, and every region you go to, there's different enemies, there's different art types, there's different environments. Everything feels different. It doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing over and over, and you're fighting different enemies. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. I think it's a really well done game, very well polished, and it's free to play, and it's not paid to win. So check that out. But I'll be jumping into Total War Warhammer because you know what? It's on Game Pass and it looks awesome. It's 113 gig download, so I got that going down, and it's a lot of fun. Make sure you jump into that if you like RTS games. But let me know where you're playing. Are you on your PC, your Xbox Series X, or are you on your PS5? Let me know down below because that's what we're here for. It's Stock Games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.